It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Temple Brewing Company in Australia, and it's a can of their Cakepricot Imperial Dessert Stout, coming in at 9.2% ABV in a 355 milliliter can. That looks incredible, doesn't it? Thank you very, very much to Mick in Australia for sending us the beer. Without further ado, let's get the beer out into a glass and see what we get. I like the beers from Temple. Like quite a few now. They've all been terrific. Really good. Oh, look at that. I'm going to shut up for a moment. So if we can hear much. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. 1 to 2 finger tan coloured head jet black beer in the glass. That looks smashing. Absolutely smashing. Look at that. Look at that as I roll the beer around in the glass. It's redeveloping the head. As I rock it back and forth, you can see the carbonation chasing the head up the glass. It looks incredible. Incredible. Without further ado, I'm not going to read too much on the can because I don't want to spoil it for myself. I'm just noticing though they are an independent craft brewer from Australia. They're not owned by a big company. Let's get the aroma. Just wow. Wow. Where do I start? It's like you've dipped a chocolate Brazil nut into some rum or something like that, and you've pulled it out and you've given it a good bite, or maybe even one of those kind of, but that would be chewing it, not the aroma, because it would just smell of chocolate. But you know the little bottles of chocolate liqueur alcohol things that you used to get? Just imagine eating one of those. You're getting all that beautiful alcohol and chocolate and fudge and all them wonderful. Just imagine that, but in the aroma. Just getting your nose in there. It smells like you've tipped some alcohol on some fudge cake, or what do they call it in the, after you've been for a meal in a restaurant and they offer you some dessert. It's like sticky toffee pudding or something like that. You've poured some rum on some sticky toffee pudding. Cool. It's got me salivating. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Quite vinous. Quite vinous. A little bit of a red wine quality coming through on the back of the palate. Plum, fig, prune. Chocolate, coffee, caramel, sticky toffee pudding now. Now I've tasted it, and you've just added a dollop of vanilla ice cream, and then you've put some kind of liqueured spirit on the top of that. The mouthfeel, it's really good. I mean, dessert stouts, they've been designed to be very sweet. There is a nice bitterness from the roasted malt, and it's quite balanced, if I'm honest. There's like a nice kind of sweet, bitter balance that just seems to kind of to work really, really well. And the mouthfeel, it's really interesting. It's really interesting because it is big and it is bold. And it is fat and chewy. You can see that by rocking the beer back and forth. You can see the body in the beer. That you can see the mouthfeel. But at the same time, it's drinkable and refreshing. And that's a good old feat that the brewer has managed to kind of get that balance right between being thick and bold enough to be able to call it a dessert stout, and for it then still to be refreshing. Because let's not forget, and I must remember to say Australian summertime here. Australian summertime can hit like 40 degrees, maybe more, 45 degrees. And I mean, that's incredible temperatures. So you don't really want to be drinking a big, massive, thick, fat, bold, chocolatey, overly gloopy stout without it being refreshing. Unless you're looking to drink your beers either first thing in the morning before the sun comes up, or when the sun goes down and everything's cooling down, just to have a maybe a last beer of the night in the Australian wilderness would be a big, fat, bold stout like this. So the chocolate, coffee and caramel is coming through from the roasted malt in the beer, and then your plum, your fig and your prune in your beer is coming from the hops that they've added. It's really, really well balanced. All of the flavours kind of just combine and just do this, sit nicely together and work well with one another. Vanilla, fudge, chocolate. Brilliant beer. I love a beer with roasted malt. I've been to a roastings in Poland where they actually roast the malt in front of you. So to be able to get the beer this colour, the brewer will, most brewers these days, will buy from a maltings, and the maltings actually roast the malt there and then. So you'll buy your roasted malt from the maltings. Where I went to in Poland, I went to the old Tyski brewery in Poland, where they had it was part of the brewery. It was still working, but they turned it into a bit of a museum piece where they had a fire pit and the malts were rolling over on a small conveyor belt over the fire pit, and they were roasting. They were going from a lovely light golden colour, the malt, to like this really kind of black, dark roasted malt, and it was terrific. It was a bit like a coffee, how they roast coffee beans, if you like, and that's what gives it that flavour, that chocolate, that coffee, that caramel. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful beer, really, really nice. Right, what do they say about the beer? We've gone ahead and brewed our Gabs 2020 beer because we all deserve a piece of cake. Inspired by the famous Viennese Chateau, this decadent imperial stout imparts luscious chocolatey flavour from the use of 5 specialty malts. A late boil addition of Simcoe imparts a slight earthy bitterness. Yeah. We've had lashings of rich chocolate and jammy apricot to elevate this dessert in a can. We recommend you let it warm oh so slightly from the fridge to let the delectable aromas leap from the glass. Enjoy. Temple Brewing Company, Australasia, 122 Western Street, Brunswick, East Victoria. Product of Australia. I'm not going to read the please drink responsibly part. We're all adults here. It is an independent craft beer. Certified in independent craft beer, and the ingredients are water, malt, hops, natural apricot flavour, chocolate and yeast. Right, pardon me. Apricot, natural apricot. Let's see if we can find it before we give it a rating. Yeah. It's absolutely obvious now. It's absolutely obvious that there's apricot in the beer. You definitely get it. And it kind of cuts through the roasted malt a little bit, that chocolate, that coffee, that caramel. As I mentioned, I don't read labels. I like to go into the beer reviews blind, and if I've missed anything then I'll pick it up later on. I just think it gives a more natural beer review. Although saying Cakepricot probably gave it away a little bit. Let's rate it then. Thank you so very much from Mick in Australia for sending me such a wonderful parcel of beer again. We really have had, Well, we've been drinking some fabulous beers from around the world over the last few months on the channel. Mick has been a massive contributor to the channel over the years, and long may it continue. Wonderful beer. I like it enough. Temple Brewing Company's Cakepricot Imperial Dessert Stout at 9.1%, 9.2% ABV. Is a 9 out of 10. It's a Stone the Crow's 9 out of 10. Please put your comments in the comments box, subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews, give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers!